On a quiet Monday afternoon in rural West Waterford, guards were called to a home near Youghal Bridge. Inside that house, they found 81-year-old Noreen Daly. She was pronounced dead at the scene. At first, the public knew very little. A woman in her 80s had been discovered inside a private home. The scene was preserved. The coroner was notified. The office of the state's pathologist was notified. The Guards Technical Bureau was called in. That alone told people one thing. This was not being treated as an ordinary sudden death. The house was in a rural area near Youghal Bridge, close to the Waterford and Cork border. It was the kind of place where people notice strange movements, unfamiliar cars, and anything out of place. And very quickly the investigation moved from a sudden discovery to something far more serious. Within days, a 33-year-old man named Finnegan Yowell was brought before court, charged with Noreen Daly's murder. He was not being convicted. The case is still before the court. But the question at the center of this story is already clear. What happened inside that rural Waterford home before Noreen Daly was found dead? And why did these investigators move so quickly from discovery to charge? Noreen Daly was 81-year-old. She lived in a rural place in West Waterford near Youghal Bridge. According to local reporting, she was originally from Cork. Reports describe her as a widow and someone remembered by people around her as kind and generous. That mattered because this case did not begin in a city street, outside a nightclub, or in the middle of public disturbance. It began inside a home. A private home, a place that should have been safe. Noreen lived in a rural area and reports said she had lived alone since the death of her husband. In a case like this, that detail becomes important, not because it explains what happened, but because it shapes the investigation. When someone living alone is found dead inside the rural home, investigators must ask very specific questions. Who knew her routine? Who had access to the area? Who may have known she was alone? Who was seen nearby in the days before the discovery? And did the person responsible arrive by chance, or did they know exactly where they were going? Those questions would soon become part of the early investigation, but before there could be answers, there was the moment someone raised the alarm. The confirmed timeline begins on Monday, the 15th of June 2026. Shortly after 2 in the afternoon, guards were alerted to the discovery of a woman's body at a residential property near Youghal Bridge. The woman was pronounced dead at the scene. At that stage, the official guard statement did not name her publicly. It described her as a woman believed to be in her 80s. The property was preserved for forensic examination. That means investigators needed the house protected from contamination. Every entry, every surface, every possible trace had to be controlled. This was not just about confirming who had died. It was about understanding how she died and whether someone else had been involved. Local and national reporting later named the woman as Noreen Daly. The first public details were limited, but the official actions were significant. A senior investigating officer was appointed. An incident room was established at a Garda station. A family liaison officer was assigned to support Noreen's relatives. The coroner and state pathologist were notified, and the Garda Technical Bureau was requested to assist. Those steps show that investigators were building a serious inquiry from the very beginning. But the next question was not only what happened inside the house, it was who had been nearby before Noreen was found. The first clues in the case were not dramatic public revelations. They were practical investigative details: the location, the timing, the condition of the scene, the people who may have been in the area. Guards appealed for witnesses, especially anyone who had been in the area or near Youghal Bridge in recent days. They also asked road users with camera footage, including dashcam recording, to come forward. That appeal mattered. In a rural case, dashcam footage can become extremely important. It can show a car entering or leaving an area. It can place someone on a road at a certain time. It can confirm or challenge a timeline. It does not automatically prove a crime, but it can give investigators the frame of the story. Who was there? When were they there? And did their movements match what they later said? Reports later stated that the alarm was raised after Noreen was discovered at the property. Some reports said a local man described as someone who had gone to the property raised the alarm. From the public information available, there is no confirmed full account of exactly what that person saw or what condition the house was in. And that is important. A good true crime story does not fit silence with invention. What we know is that guards arrived, Noreen was pronounced dead, the scene was preserved, and the investigation escalated quickly. The first clues were enough to make investigators treat the home as a forensic scene. And once that happened, the case moved from discovery to investigation. After Noreen Daly was found, Garda began examining all of the circumstances surrounding her death. The phrase "all of the circumstances" is often used early in suspicious death investigations. It means investigators have not publicly confirmed the full picture yet. They are still waiting on examination, statements, forensic results, and the post-mortem finding. In Noreen's case, the official press release said a post-mortem examination would be arranged and that the results would assist investigators in deciding the course of their inquiries. That detail is central. A post-mortem can help establish cause of death. It can also help determine whether the injuries are consistent with an attack, a fall, an accident, or another explanation. But the investigation did not wait quietly for public answers. The scene remained preserved. The technical examination was requested. An incident room was opened. Witnesses' appeals went out, and guards focused attention on the road and the area around Youghal Bridge. This was a rural location, and the rural investigations can be difficult in a different way from urban cases. There may be fewer witnesses, there may be less public CCTV, but there may also be fewer routes in and out that can make every car, every sighting, and every camera recording more valuable. By Tuesday morning, the investigation took a major turn. A man in his 30s was arrested, and by Wednesday, he had been charged. One of the most unsettling parts of this case is the setting. The area where she lived is not a place where a person can disappear into a crowd. It is rural, it is quiet, it is close enough to Youghal Bridge to be connected, but isolated enough that movement in the area can matter. That creates a strange investigative tension. On one hand, fewer people may have seen what happened. On the other hand, any unusual presence could stand out. This is why the appeal for dashcam footage was so important. Investigators were not only asking for people who saw something dramatic, they were asking for anyone who may have recorded the ordinary movement of the area, a passing vehicle, a car parked where it should not have been, a person walking along a road. Something small that only becomes important after the timeline is rebuilt. Another unusual detail is the speed of the legal developments. Noreen was found dead on Monday afternoon. A man was arrested on Tuesday morning. A man was brought before court charged with murder on Wednesday. That does not tell us what evidence investigators had. It does not prove guilt. It does not show that guards believe they had enough to bring a murder charge before the court very quickly, but many important details remain unknown to the public. The court has not yet heard the trial. The full forensic evidence has not been tested publicly. The post-mortem findings have not been fully laid out in open court. The prosecution case has not been presented in full, so the public story is still incomplete, and the name that entered the case next must be treated with legal care. The main charge in connection with Noreen Daly's death is Finnegan Finn Youghal. He's 33 years old. Reports gave his address as Old School House, Ticknock County, Waterford, in the Unsolved area. He appeared before Carrick-on-Suir District Court on Wednesday, the 17th of July, 2026. Detectives Guard Stephen Condon of Dungarvan Garda Station gave evidence of arrest, charge, and caution. The court heard that when the charge was put to Mr. Yowell, he made no reply. That detail is part of the court record as reported. It does not prove guilt. People can make no reply for many legal reasons. No bail application was made. In a murder case, the district court does not have jurisdiction to grant bail. Mr. Yowell, solicitor, requested that he be assessed medically and psychologically. Judge John granted that request and ordered that medical assessments be carried out in prison with appropriated treatment to be provided. The hearing was brief. Reports said Mr. Yowell did not speak during the 5-minute appearances. He was remanded in custody and ordered to appear before Colon Mill District Court the following Tuesday. At this point, the legal position is clear. He is accused, he is charged, he is not convicted. The evidence against him must still be tested in court, but the charge changed the public understanding of the case. Noreen Daly's death was no longer only a suspicious death investigation, it was now a murder case before the Irish court. The confirmed public evidence is still limited. We know Noreen Daly was found dead at her home on Monday afternoon. We know the scene was preserved for forensic examination. We know the state pathologist and coroner were notified. We know the Garda Technical Bureau was requested. We know guard appeal for witnesses and dashcam footage from the area and Youghal Bridge area. We know a man in his 30s was arrested the following morning. We know Finnegan Finn Youghal was later charged with murder. We know he made no reply when charged according to court reporting, and we know medical and psychological assessments were ordered after his solicitor requested them. That is the confirmed framework. Now, one possible theory is that investigators were trying to build a movement-based timeline around the rural property. This is only an interpretation based on the public appeal for witnesses and camera footage. It is not a proven conclusion. In a case like this, the timeline could be crucial. If investigators can establish when Noreen was last known to be alive, when the accused was allegedly in the area, and what movements were recorded near the home, that could help them test wherever the prosecution timeline is strong. Dashcam footage may also help show whether anyone else was near the property. That matters because a murder charge is not only about proving that a death was unlawful, it is about proving who was responsible. The problem with this theory is that the public does not yet know what footage, if any, has been recovered. We do not know what forensic evidence has been collected. We do not know whether there are witnesses' statements placing anyone at the home. We do not know the full post-mortem finding as they will be presented in court. For this theory to become stronger, investigators would need reliable evidence connecting movements, timing, forensic finding, and the accused person in a way that can stand up in court. Until then, it remains only a way to understand why early witness appeal and road footage may matter. The strongest answers are still inside the evidence file, and that file has not yet been opened in full to the public. As of the latest confirmed reporting, Noreen Daly is dead, and Finnegan Yowell has been charged with her murder. He has been remained in custody. The court ordered medical and psychological assessment. The investigation remains active, and the case is moving through the Irish legal system because this is a live criminal case. There are limits to what can be said safely and fairly.